Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer, and joining me today is Utsav Chakrabarti as we look at what might have transpired between the meeting between Joe Biden, the President of the United States, and Xi Jinping, the President of the People's Republic of China. So let's welcome Utsav Chakrabarti. Utsav, always a pleasure to have you. Namaskar.
Namaste, Shree.
So Utsav, you always have, your tentacles spread everywhere. You've got, birds who are listening in and all these things. And tell us a little bit about what might have transpired in the meetings that took place between Joe Biden and Xi Jinping. One thing I have to tell viewers: take a look at the video I posted at 6 a.m. today morning. I'm recording this on Wednesday evening here, so Thursday morning in India already. 6 a.m. I posted a video. You can see Anthony Blinken anxiously looking at Joe Biden to make sure that he doesn't commit any gaffes. Luckily, he did not. But is this what the U.S. presidency has come to? So,
well, Joe Biden fell asleep probably once. So at least there's one video recording where he fell asleep. So it's, he continues his tradition of, waking up and making a mistake and then falling asleep, I must say. So, but overall, I think this was a good meeting in general. I don't know how much was achieved, but there are clearly some things that Americans, we as a country wanted to push with China. And I think one of those was the base material for creating fentanyl, which is a huge problem. I mean, it's one of the least discussed problems in America, the opioid crisis. And I had a glimpse of working with a doctor last year who is an expert on that issue. And I can tell you that it's worse than the HIV crisis at its worst in the 1980s. It's a really dangerous situation with the fentanyl crisis. So I think that was a key discussion point with China. And as you know, China is one of the highest producers of the base chemicals that are used to make fentanyl. Opioid drug, addictive drug, causing a lot of deaths. So that was one. I think Taiwan was very much in the conversation. I do not believe, my understanding is that no meeting between these two countries in the short term can resolve anything on Taiwan. Taiwan is a geopolitical concern and a problem that will keep going on. In fact, it will keep on escalating because China sees it as the next step in its evolution as a superpower. And so I think the conversation was done. There were more promises of military to military communication, faster communication between the two militaries, lesser chances of misinterpretation of each other's moves. Both sides are going to make aggressive moves, I believe. Nothing will change on that. And of course, there was the new thing around the block for every developed country and every fast growing economy is AI. And so AI was discussed, especially its military applications and the threats that could arise from unmanaged, unsupervised, competitive growth of AI in military application. And I think that was part of the conversation. Nobody wants a Terminator 2 story here. So that was it.
Utsav, it's hard for me to believe that you can stop technology from, impacting our lives, even if you want to try and stop it. I'll give you an example. After the 1987 October crash of the stock markets, they felt that United States can no longer trade in the wells. Like, you go and shout. Remember Trading Places movie, right? Something like that. You cannot do that anymore. So they started computerizing it. And pretty soon, you had computers trading with other computers. It was called as high frequency trading. And then they wanted to get even more speed. So what they started doing was one side was located by the side of the server engine, which was essentially matching, buy and sell stock. Because you are that close to that server, you could essentially front run everybody else. It is sort of like scalping tickets. Okay. So you want to go to a movie, you've come to the theater with your family, you have a plan of, going to this place for dinner, then this place for dessert. You understand, everybody has come. There are no tickets, right? In front of the family, the man of the household doesn't want to look small. So he grudgingly pays up. And then, that's the kind of thing that has been happening. There's a book called Flash Boys. I don't know if you've read it by Michael Lewis that tells you in great detail what has happened. My point in saying all this is once technology develops, it's very hard to put that genie back inside the bottle. So I'm kind of leery about what AI curbs that these people have agreed to. They'll say, well, we will make it look like we are having curbs, but you go ahead, you do what you have to do. Let's get that extra edge. That is typical. So anyway,
Also, nobody is
yeah,
going to sacrifice competitiveness and getting ahead, especially on military issues. In a
right,
world where we are on the brink of global conflicts, literally all the time at this point,
right, right,
nobody's.
right, right.
They're just going to make it secret. They're just going to take it underground and just going to make it classified. So I don't think there will be any real. To summarize this meeting, I think it was all show. It was America's effort to show the world that they can talk to China. It was China's effort to show the world that they are becoming a mature superpower, which can talk to its biggest adversary. It was probably also America's effort to show Putin that, hey, I can take away 2 of your sleeps, 2 nights sleep from you because he's in San Francisco and you will wonder what he's doing with us. So, those are some of the things I think we can take away from this.
Utsav, a couple of things here.
Yeah.
One is, did the United States even wrap the knuckles on China for its involvement in this Israel-Hamas conflict?
Absolutely not. It did not.
But they are acting as if China has no hand in it.
They're acting as and see, in fact, America doesn't want to acknowledge China's role in Middle East anymore because it's an acknowledgement of China's growing strength. So you don't want to acknowledge or even say that the other side has a role, because just by accepting that they have a role, which they have at this point, especially with the peace deal they were working out with Saudi Arabia and Iran, which was brokered by China to some extent a couple of months ago, it puts America in a bad place. It makes America look like it's lesser than what it used to be. It's certainly lesser than what it used to be in my understanding, but it makes it official. So I don't think Americans would like to talk about it.
So the next question is that, I'm hearing that US has sanctioned another $12 billion to Iran. And even as it's saying that Iran is having a hand, especially since they are saying that the missiles fired by the Houthis from Yemen at Israel and actually at the US ships was the Houthis don't have these missiles.
They're all Iran. Yeah. Houthis are an extension of Iran.
Yeah, so why is the United States giving a further $12 billion to Iran?
See, that's a very good question. And I don't know what the details of those negotiations have been. I mean, these guys have been talking to each other forever. And I have to say that there is a part of American political thinkers who believe that it's a carrot and stick approach where you need to give them a carrot for a future stick to work. Because there is a strong opinion. I'm not saying I agree with that opinion, but there is a section of Washington, D.C. that believes that stick with Iran hasn't worked. They put sanctions on Iran for the last 2 generations of people. Literally, it's been sanctioned forever. And they have developed their own technology. They have developed their own alternatives. They are part of global economic corridors now. I mean, they did the corridor with India. They did a corridor with Russia and China. So Iran has bypassed successfully American sanctions for the last 10 years. And now, as you can see in Ukraine, Iranian-made drones have, even though they may not be technologically superior, but in terms of their effectiveness on the battlefield by virtue of their volume and their tenacity, have succeeded. They have pretty much made the Turkish drones useless. Nobody wants to buy Turkish drone anymore. Bayraktar used to be the hot ice cream on the road, but nobody buys Bayraktar anymore. So my understanding is, and this is a dispassionate analysis of this, I think there's a big school of thought in Washington, D.C. that genuinely believes, I'm not saying they're right, that Iran needs to be given a carrot along with the stick that has been used on them. Maybe that carrot will entice them to give us something in return. I do not believe Iran would do that. I believe Iran will take advantage of it, and it will in fact show Iran that America is a weakening superpower, and therefore they might take more advantage of America. And that is my way of looking at it. I could be wrong, but certainly people in Washington, D.C. believe they can bribe Iran into becoming friend.
The ground support in Iran is actually for Israel. Surprise, surprise.
Correct. I mean,
yeah. How long will their mullahs try to put a lid on this stuff?
Well, see, Iran is actually doing something very smart, in my understanding. If you notice what they did, the mullahs in the past used to be very stringent on hijab, like hijab, cover yourself, cover yourself, cover yourself. But last time when they had these huge riots over hijab, they quietly kind of loosened up and said, hey, by the way, if you want to like just cover your head and show your face, and as long as you don't say America is great, we will let you go. We will just. So they are actually trying to be flexible, because they have realized that if they stay the rigid that they were under the Khomeini era, their public support is eroding to the point where they will not be able to control the country anymore. So you have to give credit to the Iranian mullahs for the fact that they are quietly loosening up their grip enough to make them feel that they have a brighter future to look towards without completely becoming a revolution, counter revolution. I mean, they had the crazy revolution in 79, have a successful counter revolution. And I think it has worked. I mean, even 1 year ago, there were really strong protests in Iran, and it was almost looking like they will not be able to hold on to power, but they managed to keep the country together and hold on. And, to assess them in a very dispassionate way, we have to admit that in the last 10 years, thanks to some of the mistakes we made as America, Iran has managed to survive in Syria and grow its power. It has survived and thrived in Iraq. So Iraq is literally proxy ruled by Iran at this point. So, no credits to Obama and the Hillary foreign policy for it, but, Iran has gained power in the last 10 years. So we have to work with that thought in mind, knowing fully well that it's a country that can break. It's a fragile country, but it's still holding on.
Last question for you, macro situation, maybe last but one. Macro situation as far as Israel-Hamas conflict is concerned, they are now beginning to go into that hospital, and they are, taking out sections at a time, bulldozing them. Then after that, whatever is below is, game and fair game. So they're just going to bomb the hell out of that. That is probably what they are planning to do. Now they've tried to squeeze the entire population of Gaza into the southern portion. How is that working out? Do you think that they might find a new place in the desert, somewhere in the desert between Israel and Egypt, and put them there? Is that something that is still being worked on? Because I know Biden had signed off on something like that, because Israel said that we can't have these guys anymore here. We have to keep them long ways away in a desert. We will build a new city if we have to. We'll build the water systems and everything, but we just don't want to deal with them anymore. Something like that. Do you think that is on the card still?
So they are thinking like that. I have to agree. I agree with you. So Israel used to have a policy with Hamas, which used to be called mowing the lawn policy. This policy goes back. This is a Netanyahu brainchild, but his early prime ministerships used to be the progenitor of this policy. The mowing the lawn policy used to be that every time these jihadis, the Hamas and the jihadi groups, there are a couple of other groups, not necessarily Hezbollah, but the Sunni jihadi groups, Islamic Jihad, Hamas, factions of PLO, whenever they grow beyond a certain point, aggressive and kind of start doing violent activities, they would go in and mow the lawn. They used to call it mowing the lawn, and can cut them down to size. But what happened on October 7th was a paradigm shift, because it was something that they never imagined could happen. They were not prepared for it. And when it happened, the outcome was very tragic. It is one of the worst impacts on Israel, at least in the last 30-40 years, in my knowledge. So how Israel is not going to respond and limit it to mowing the lawn. And having a buffer zone in northern Gaza and moving this population to the south is kind of an extended version of mowing the lawn, in my opinion. I think they're looking for something even bigger. Their first attempt was to try to see if these population can be moved on to some other Arab country which is willing to give them land. I mean, there's no shortage of land. But, at the end of the day, Arabs know that Palestinians are not Arabs. I mean, that's the fact. So these guys, I don't know how, because America is not really fully cooperating. America is pushing back on Israel. If it was up to Israel, Israel would have really gone in and taken care of all these Hamas, bases inside hospitals and really beat the crap out of them. But it has not been able to do that. It's doing a very limited incursion. And it is also suffering a lot of casualties while it's doing it. We are not discussing that much, but it's not like Israel is having a smooth sailing inside. So I believe that something might work out in the Sinai. It would need a full buy-in from Egypt. because without Egypt, there is no peace deal in Sinai. And how much Egypt is willing to cooperate, how much they're willing to work on that, I don't know if something has been materialized on it yet. That's my understanding.
And even if that is solved, even if that's, let's say that step is taken and that is in progress, that is in play, there is still the question of West Bank, right? That is still open.
Oh, yeah, very much so. And it's a sitting,
a much larger area.
It's a sitting powder keg. Yeah, it's absolutely a sitting. Nothing is stopping Hamas from getting. I mean, how long can you bribe this guy, the current leader of West Bank? I forget his name.
Mahmoud Abbas.
Mahmoud Abbas. I mean, he's made his money and he's rich and fat, but beyond a point, the jihadis are going to come back in. So, Israel has really got very few choices, and this is the reality of the world we live in. Israel has to deal with Hamas and all Islamists with violence, and that violence is going to be unpleasant, and it's going to involve a hybrid warfare, which involves civilians. There's nothing you can do. Hamas is not in uniforms. So how do you fight it? You have to fight civilians.
Now, what are the options in front of Israel? Let us say that this is again being reignited. The place, they know the source of all this is Iran, and perhaps China also is giving it to Iran, and then Iran is doing some tweaks and putting it out. Are they going to decide that we are going to take out something in Iran that will kind of put them back by 10, 15 years, like the way they did the Iraqi nuclear establishment in 1981? Do you think Israel might be entertaining thoughts of something like that?
Israel should have entertained that thought in 2009. I think Iran has reached a point now, and Israel did try. I mean, if you remember, from 2009 to 2015, like 20 Iranian nuclear scientists were killed. Like they literally used a software. I think, I forget the name. It was 𝙒𝙧 or something like starting with an S, where they made the Iranian nuclear centrifuges spin like at 10 times the speed of what it was and destroy themselves. They inserted software into their nuclear facilities. So Israel tried many things in Iran that kind of set them back by many years. But I think at this point, Israel, I will be honestly saying this, that Israel probably has to think twice before it does anything. Iran is too powerful for Israel at this point, in my opinion. It's not a good thing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I'm just wondering, if any of these people have set themselves some traps that they have walked themselves into. Clearly, Biden is feeling the pressure to step down. Even Bill Ackman has said, come on now, you need to, this has gone too far. And if he steps down, is there going to be a Democratic primary also that's going to take place? Today you saw
Gavin Newsom. It's going to be your governor, Gavin Newsom.
Well, he's a reasonable guy. He's okay. The one who will feel left out or having missed a trick is his wife, ex-wife, current girlfriend of Donald Trump Jr., Kimberly.
There you go. She could have been the first lady.
Yes.
She could be the first daughter-in-law. You never know. Can still make it.
Very true. Very true. So let's look at last one point. China is essentially now it's a Xi Jinping story. Nobody else is there. He has made sure that any challenge to him has been neutralized now. I'm saying it in a loose way. I don't know for sure that Li Keqiang has not died of natural reasons.
You can say it more confidently. Would neutralized here.
So China has a huge problem still. They haven't addressed their economy. And see, this is what I wanted to really ask you. Sorry. There are news reports that saying that US was anxious that Xi Jinping come and visit Biden and that he come here to the United States. And that's why even Gavin Newsom went to meet him there. What exactly is the reason? Who wanted to meet whom?
I agree. I think US Biden wanted to bring him and meet him. Biden wanted to show that he is still a statesman and has communication with China. I think Gavin Newsom wanted to look as the guy who could become the next president, and who better to go and invite Xi Jinping than Gavin Newsom. So it's pre-planned. I agree with this theory that it was all thought that way. But I have to admit that China did come out looking stronger than US in this whole conversation, as far as I can read it. And I wanted to say this also that what you see between the USS China is the last stages of Thucydides complex. The Thucydides effect essentially means there will be a war between these two countries. And I genuinely believe that we may talk about it for a few years, we may slow it down for a few years, but there will be actual physical conflict. It might be a limited one, but there will be between US and China at some point down the road.
Thank you so much, Utsav. And viewers, I hope you got some new information from Utsav. Utsav is always, he's full of information and knowledge. And as always, a pleasure having you on our channel, Utsav. And viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.
Namaskar, everybody.